Guys, I'm back with another video for you today, and I'm going to talk to you about 4 brand spanking new fragrances from the Greek house of Theodoros Kalotinis. Are you familiar with this house? Well, they've just dropped 4 gourmands, and they are Extrait Parfum, concentration, and so super potent as well. If you love gourmands and you love very, very potent fragrances, you're definitely going to want to stick around to find out all about these fragrances. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Sebastian, talking to you about the latest Theodoros Kalotinis fragrances. They are gourmand fragrances, and they are Extrait Parfum, concentration, so super, super long lasting, really, really overwhelming. In fact, when I was testing these 4 fragrances, they do take over. So if you spray a lot like me, you're going to want to control your sprays because they do overwhelm. The 4 fragrances are Matcha Ice Cream, we have Marzipan Gourmand, Tiramisu, and Peach Macaroon. If you haven't gotten your nose on these yet, which one sounds the best to you right off the bat as I'm telling you the names? Let me know, add a comment below. If you want to find out more about these fragrances, I have a link to Lucky Scent. They are selling them there. And there's also a discount code in the info box. You can take advantage of that discount code if you wanted to buy these fragrances. But do let me know if you have a favorite Theodoros Kalotinis fragrance. Now we're going to start off with the first fragrance, Matcha Ice Cream, this one right here. So these are, as I said, Extrait Parfum concentration, and it's part of a collection called Golden Secret Collection. They sell for 50 ml, $175, and Matcha Ice Cream has notes of matcha tea, lime zest, vanilla, sugar, matcha ice cream, crispy waffle cone. So as I was testing these fragrances out, they all have, I'm a gourmand lover. You know that about me. But I also really love desserts. I love all kinds of sweet delicacies. Maybe also because I used to cook and bake desserts and sweets and food. So I really enjoy delicacies and enjoying new desserts and things like that. So I was really enjoying, testing these out, experiencing them. And they do remind me of real desserts. This one as well, I haven't had too much matcha in the way of the tea form, but I have had ice cream a little more than the tea itself. And whenever I experience matcha in fragrances, there's this kind of a herbaceous, herbal grassiness with matcha tea, especially in fragrances. So when you first spray this one, it does act like matcha tea, but for me, it also reminds me of green tea, but it gets super creamy and vanillic and super cozy and powdery as well. So along the way, the lime zest comes in, but I think the lime is a bit softer and it gets sugary. But what I really like about this one is that waffle cone. As I said, I've had a few opportunities to have matcha ice cream, especially traveling to Japan and here and there along the way. And the wearing experience of this is so authentic, like the actual delicacy, that makes the fragrance even more enjoyable, if that makes sense. Because as I said, I do love desserts and sweet treats. And the fact that this had that dry down with the waffle cone, and the waffle cone note in here is so authentic, smelling like the real waffle cone. When you're holding the waffle cone and you're licking on the ice cream and you're getting whiffs of the waffle cone along with the green tea, that whole herbaceous greenness that's in matcha tea, it just makes for a really pleasant experience and really enjoyable experience. Now, not experience too much with the actual tea, and this did remind me of the smell of green tea, but also the fact that it has that herbaceousness that it does, give me that whole matcha tea experience. But it's all very super creamy, super, cozy and comfy, and again, very vanillic, and it's got really the soft creaminess, but lots of the matcha, lots of the tea, a bit citrusy, and of course the waffle cone in here. Very, very authentic. That's what I liked about it. This might be my favorite in the bunch, but they're all pretty good. But I'll let you know which one is tops. But for me, this is super awesome. And when you first spray it, you've got that greenness because it dominates, because it is what's running the show, the matcha tea. But there is a bit of that zesty lime kind of a citrusy thing happening. So it does add this kind of a citrusy freshness, but it starts getting warm right after that. It gets sweet, vanillic, the sugariness. It's quite sweet, but I feel like the matcha experience in here kind of tones down the sweetness. And then of course you've got that kind of doughy, not nutty, but cookie like experience with the waffle cone here, with its slight burned caramelized characteristic that the waffle cones have. That's really quite delicious. And again, as I was testing this out, I was with a friend. They really enjoyed it because they really enjoy tea fragrances, and they said, "Is that green tea?" And I'm like, well, it's supposed to be matcha tea, But that's when I thought, okay, this acts like green tea, not necessarily the idea of the matcha tea. But when I wear fragrances that features the matcha tea, there's that grassiness, that herbaceous quality that comes through that's not prominent in like a regular green tea fragrance. But this is definitely one of my favorites from the bunch. This is Matcha Ice Cream. Let me know if you're familiar with that. So next up, we've got Marzipan Gourmand. So this one, actually, I feel like it's very familiar for me, and I've smelled something like this. And even though it's marzipan, it's lots of almonds, there's definitely a cherry vibe way in the back trying to show its face to you. So it's a lot of almonds, it's bitter, of course, and the marzipan idea is there, but it's like the opposite of almonds is cherries kind of a thing. So there's a little bit of a lost cherry-like vibe, but less cherry, more almonds, if that makes sense. Also powdery and creamy at the same time and slightly milky. So it has notes of almonds. It's marzipan, sugar, and marshmallow. Let me know if you're familiar with this one. Let me know if you're familiar with the first one. It's not that it's a bad fragrance. Since it's so familiar to me, I'm ranking this one low. But if you like the idea of marzipan, almonds, bitter almonds, powdery, doughy, with the traces of the cherries in there, you're gonna probably really enjoy this. The bitter almonds idea is definitely prominent, and also that creaminess when they're making the marzipan, that kind of doughy, kind of creamy consistency that marzipan has. It's really the way the fragrance texturally wears. I mean, it's good, but I'm gonna rank it lower because it's so familiar with something that I'm familiar with, like as a scent. But once again, super potent, offering really, really long lasting. So if you like Extrait de Parfum, really, these are the ones you should try. They're 50 ml, 175, and there's a discount code in the info box. A little goes a long way. And I'm a sprayer. I spray a lot of, sprays. And so they do tend to overwhelm. More than 3 or 4 sprays, it really fills up your area. And close your mouth because it's just a lot of thick, dense perfume. But yeah, I think it's a good fragrance. I'm just ranking it lower because there's definitely a familiar vibe. So next up, it's tiramisu. So tiramisu started out being one of my favorite delicacies. And then all of a sudden, I started hating the actual dessert. It started becoming not a favorite of mine. And I always associate tiramisu with Italy. And when I go to Italy, I have it. It tastes much better than what I get here. There is that thick mascarpone cheese that in Italy they use. They also tone down the booziness. And in the States, it's mostly doughy, less cream, and a lot of booze and coffee. So there's the differences between the different tiramisus. So when I go to Italy, I make sure to have it because they fill it up with the mascarpone. It's super delicious. And this features mascarpone cream. So I know what that smells and tastes like. And when I was wearing this, it really gave me the feeling of tiramisu that I'm familiar with Italy. I mean, I have great stories with finding tiramisu at various cafes and restaurants in Italy. Very orgasmic flavored, because they're so really good. And here, when I was testing this fragrance out, it gave me that vibe. It gave me the idea. It reminded me of those times that I've had the most delicious tiramisus that I can't get here because they don't do them the way they do them in Italy. But tiramisu from Theodoros Kalotinis has notes of mascarpone, vanilla, Savoiardi biscuits, sugar, espresso, coffee, cocoa, Marsala wine. And for me, this is like the Italian tiramisu, not the tiramisu that you get in the USA. The mascarpone is key here. It's so super creamy and cozy. I love that about it. It's to the level of like you want to eat it because that mascarpone comes off so authentic. The coffee and cocoa also really authentic. They're edited. They're not overwhelmed. And even though there's no mention of booze here, typically I get a little trace of booze in the ones in Italy. Not all of them. Some of them don't even have booze, which is even a preference for me. I love boozy fragrances, but I hate boozy desserts for some strange reason. And here, I don't get a lot of booziness. There's maybe a slight hint of it because they have that Marsala wine. But for me, it's the kind of tiramisu I love and also the kind of, gourmand fragrance that I love. So it was a really difficult to figure out which one I prefer between the fragrances here. It's either matcha ice cream or tiramisu, but I kind of prefer tiramisu a lot more than matcha ice cream because how realistic it smells. And then we're going back to the fact that it's so super concentrated. Only need a few sprays of this If you like the idea of cozy, this is definitely going to satisfy. Creamy, milky, that mascarpone is so super luxurious. And of course, you've got the, the biscuity thing, the sugary thing, the coffee and the cocoa. Super delicious. So I would say right now, tiramisu is my favorite of these new fragrances that are from the Golden Secret collection by Theodoros Kalotinis. And then last but not least, we have Peach Macaroon. So when I started testing this one out, I instantly thought the fragrance from Maître Parfum at Gantier, Fresh Passiflore, and also thought of Sarah Baker's Peach's Revenge. I feel like there's this fresh green breeziness in this that is kind of similar to Fresh Passiflore from Maître Parfum at Gantier, but also that peachiness transfers over to the peachiness of something like Sarah Baker's Peach's Revenge. So it kind of has two sides. There's a fresh side and a more warm and gourmand side to me when I was testing it. And the reason I'm saying it's got a fresh side, there's a tartness about this. And for me, ripe peaches, I associate with a lot more warmth, and fresh peaches, not so ripened peaches, I associate with freshness, and that's the kind of experience I'm getting with peach macaroon. So it's burnt sugar, vanilla, peach, macaroon. Those are the notes that are listed. And this was the first fragrance I started testing out. And I'm getting the smell. It's so strong. And I sprayed two or three, and it really, fills up the space. So be careful with these fragrances. They're so potent and intense. And that freshness, the greenness, the unripened peach experience reminds me of that whole fragrance from Maître Parfum at Gantier, the Fresh Passiflore, that I've been obsessed with a lot lately. But eventually it sweetens up. This one also gets a little creamy, but more a bit like amber. There's a light creaminess there, but eventually giving you the idea of this kind of doughy macaroon-like consistency. But again, this is a very young peach. It doesn't sweeten up with the peach, but there's other sweet notes that are in here that are, sweetening up the fragrance itself. But it's nicely done. It's very familiar for me, giving me the idea of Fresh Passiflore from Maître Parfum at Gantier, and of course the Peach's Revenge. But taking those two together, twisting them up a little bit and coming up with something like this. It's delicious. If you like peach fragrances, you're going to want to try this one. But as I was saying, my favorite of the four is tiramisu. It's so yummy, guys, and makes me want to hunt down some really super delicious, not so boozy tiramisu. And then matcha ice cream is my second favorite, but it's very close to tiramisu. I would say peach macaroon is the third favorite, and marzipan gourmand, because it gives me a little bit of a almond heavy lost cherry vibe, I rank that at the bottom. But I still think it's good. If you like lost cherry or something cherried and you want the version of that with a lot more almonds and you want like this super intense version of it, I would say try Marzipan Gourmand. But that's all I have for you today. Those are my thoughts on these four new Extrait de Parfum fragrances from the house of Theodoros Kalotinis from the Golden Secret collection. Let me know if you're familiar with this house. Let me know if you're familiar with the fragrances. If you've tried these, what are your thoughts? If you've tried any other fragrances, what are your favorites? Please do add a comment below. And if you want to find out more about these, definitely head to Lucky Scent. I have a link in the info box. And as I said, there's also a discount code there. Anyway, I appreciate you tuning in today. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook. And I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. All right, guys, I just wanted to also let you guys know we have now dropped Scent Club kit number 15. If you haven't heard about it yet, we are selling it now, and we have 3 awesome fragrances in the kit. We have Filthy Musk, we have Blue Whiskey on the Rock in an old-fashioned glass, and we have Taipei. Really awesome collection of fragrances in the latest Scent Club kit. Turned out to be 3 different Asian brands. We've got one from South Korea, we have one from Thailand, and we have one from Hong Kong. Anyway, it is linked in the info box. Please take advantage of the kit now before it sells out. And again, thanks so much for watching today. Have a good one. Bye-bye.